There are multiple reports of yet another caravan making its way north from Central America. What is the push as of recent? Does it have to do with the transition of power here in the United States?
I don't think so. Always with migration, we have to keep into consideration two factors. We have the push factors that are the things that motivate people to leave, and the pull factors, and those are the things that attract people to certain locations. People concerned about the Biden administration relaxing some of the really hard policies, immigration policies that we saw with the previous administration, might consider that this is an important pull factor, right? That is actually attracting migration into the US. But let's keep an eye on the more important push factors that have to do with really bad economic conditions in Central America and Mexico caused by the COVID pandemic that is impacting all over the world, including the US, and also the violence associated with poverty that is also harming these communities. So when we put things in comparison, maybe yes, there could be a little bit of an effect of relaxed immigration policies in the US as a pull factor. But when we consider the push conditions of economic hardship and insecurity in these countries, that really has a lot more weight in informing the decisions of these huge numbers of people moving across the borders.
Economic hardship has always been a challenge for communities in Central America.
Yes, absolutely. But now with the COVID pandemic, we have pretty much all over the world economies totally paralyzed without sufficient support from the governments, because the governments in Central America, they have a lot less resources and state capacity to actually provide safety nets for people. So the fall of the Central American economies is way sharper than the one we see in the US. That also includes Mexico.
Now, should those people make their way through Mexico to the U.S. port of entry? I mean, we saw last year and the year before that where hundreds of people would sit outside ports of entries waiting to request asylum. What is your read on if this administration will handle that differently?
Apparently, there are important changes in how the new administration is going to handle these entry requests or asylum requests. One of those important changes is ending the Wait in Mexico program, Espera en Mexico. Um, that will change the conditions, because the conditions where these people are in Mexico are in very hard or very poor conditions in terms of the safety and their human agglomerations. With the COVID pandemic is becoming a health issue. Ending that program and having people wait for their court hearing, immigration court hearing in the US, will actually put them away from those vulnerable situations. So that is one of the consequences that hopefully we'll see from the Biden administration. But at the same time, we have to take this with cautious skepticism, right? Which is, during the Obama administration, when now President Biden was vice president, I mean, Obama deported a lot more people than the entire Trump administration. So we might see a different way of handling cases, but the number of deportations that we saw in terms of the past of the personal trajectory of President Biden, we also know that he's inclined of increasing levels of deportation. So we'll have to celebrate these new policies being rolled out, but also we have to be careful and skeptical, remain skeptical about how they handle this in a more humanitarian way.
Among those factors, many of us here think that it's work or it's drug related, but you're saying there are other factors that could be driving these patterns.
Correct. There are different borders face different types of flows in different directions. From the US side, the biggest flows that we are concerned are drug trafficking and human trafficking. That's migration flows. But from the Mexican side, a big concern by the current administration of Andrés Manuel López Obrador is arms trafficking from the US down into Mexico, which is actually all the guns that end up in the hands of criminal organizations that are causing all this violence. There's not that much discussion going on in the US about the responsibility of US authorities at the federal level and local level about efforts to stopping arms trafficking to Mexico. But the Mexican government has been putting that topic very high on the agenda, and that is one of the discussions that they will have to have in terms of the new incoming administration of President Biden and the Mexican President López Obrador.
Whether or not these policies happen at the federal level and then take action at the local level, for example, in a border state like Arizona, remains to be seen.
Absolutely. One of the cases that we see in all administrations or bureaucratic organizations is what is known as the principal agent problem, where the principal might actually make a command, but the agents implementing that policy might have different ways of doing that. So even if the Biden administration makes some high-level policy changes, the ones in charge of implementing those policies might actually have a lot of leeway and discretion in how they actually implement those policies or not.
Okay, Professor Javier Osorio, thank you for your insight.
Sure. Thank you very much.